Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Hunter again. I'm going to start off by reading chapter 1 in Mere Christianity. It is a book that we are going over in church on Wednesday nights in the adult group. This is what it looks like, by C.S. Lewis, I believe. So yeah, I'm just going to set you guys down like this so you guys can listen. Book 1, Right and Wrong as a Clue to the Meaning of the Universe. The Law of Human Nature. Everyone has heard people quarreling. Sometimes it sounds funny and sometimes it sounds merely unpleasant. But however it sounds, I believe we can learn something very important from listening to the kind of things they say. Or actually, you know what, guys? I find it better if we just listen to it audio. I forgot that I can do that on YouTube. There's audio versions of this too. Let's do that. Let's go Mere Christianity. Chapter 1.
Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Book 1, Right and Wrong as a Clue to the Meaning of the Universe.
For any landscaping project or planting, call 811.
It's a free service to have your utilities marked. No project is too small. Anytime you're going to dig in the dirt, call 811.
You can call or go online. It's really just that easy.
Okay, here we go.
The Law of Human Nature. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Book 1, Right and Wrong as a Clue to the Meaning of the Universe. The Law of Human Nature. Everyone has heard people quarreling. Sometimes it sounds funny, sometimes it sounds merely unpleasant. But however it sounds, I believe we can learn something very important from listening to the kinds of things they say. They say things like this: "How'd you like it if anyone did the same to you?" "That's my seat. I was there first." "Leave him alone. He isn't doing you any harm." "Why should you shove in first?" "Give me a bit of your orange. I gave you a bit of mine." "Come on, you promised." People say things like that every day. Educated people as well as uneducated, and children as well as grown-ups. Now, what interests me about these remarks is that the man who makes them is not merely saying that the other man's behavior does not happen to please him. He is appealing to some kind of standard of behavior which he expects the other man to know about. And the other man very seldom replies, "To hell with your standard." Nearly always, he tries to make out that what he has been doing does not really go against the standard, or that if it does, there's really some special excuse. He pretends there is some special reason in this particular case why the person who took the first seat first should not keep it, or that things were quite different when he was given a bit of orange, or that something is turned up which lets him off keeping his promise. It looks, in fact, very much as if both parties had in mind some kind of law or rule of fair play, or decent behavior, or morality, or whatever you like to call it, about which they agree. And they have. If they had not, they might of course fight like animals, but they could not quarrel in the human sense of the word. Quarreling means trying to show that the other man is in the wrong. And there would be no sense in trying to do that unless you and he had some sort of agreement as to what right and wrong are. Just as there would be no sense in saying that a footballer had committed a foul unless there was some agreement about the rules of football. Now, this law or rule about right and wrong used to be called the law of nature. Nowadays, when we talk of the laws of nature, we usually mean things like gravity or heredity or the laws of chemistry. But when the older thinkers called the law of right and wrong the law of nature, they really meant the law of human nature. The idea was that just as all bodies are governed by the law of gravitation and organisms by biological laws, so the creature called man also had his law, with this great difference, that a body could not choose whether it obeyed the law of gravity or not, but a man could choose whether to obey the law of human nature or to disobey it. We may put this in another way. Each man is, at every moment, subjected to several sets of laws, but there is only one of these which he is free to disobey. As a body, he is subjected to gravitation and cannot disobey it. If you leave him unsupported in midair, he has no more choice about falling than a stone has. As an organism, he is subjected to various biological laws which he cannot disobey any more than an animal can. That is, he cannot disobey those laws which he shares with other things. But the law which is peculiar to his human nature, the law he does not share with animals or vegetables or inorganic things, is the one he can disobey if he chooses. This law is called the law of nature because people thought that everyone knew it by nature and did not need to be taught it. They did not mean, of course, that you might not find an odd individual here and there who did not know it, just as you find a few people who are colorblind or have no ear for a tune. But taking the race as a whole, they thought that the human idea of decent behavior was obvious to everyone. And I believe that they were right. If they were not, then all the things we said about the war were nonsense. What was the sense in saying the enemy were in the wrong unless right is a real thing which the Nazi at the bottom knew as well as we did and ought to have practiced?
New Gummy Yum Surprise. Just peel and stretch to taste 8 delicious fruit flavors. Out now.
New Tylenol Precise, the fast-acting formula for targeted pain relief, precisely where you need it.
We might still have to fight them. We could no more have blamed them for that than the color of their hair. I know that some people say the idea of a law of nature or decent behavior known to all men is unsound, because different civilizations and different ages have had quite different moralities. But this is not true. There have been differences between their moralities, but these have never amounted to anything like a total difference. If anyone will take the trouble to compare the moral teachings of, say, the ancient Egyptians, Babylonians, Hindus, Chinese, Greeks, and Romans, what will really strike him will be how very like they are to each other and to our own. Some of the evidence for this I've put together in the appendix of another book called The Abolition of Man. But for our present purpose, I need only ask the reader to think what a totally different morality would mean. Think of a country where people were admired for running away in battle, or where a man felt proud of double-crossing all the people who had been kindest to him. You might just as well try to imagine a country where 2 and 2 made 5. Men have differed as regards what people you ought to be unselfish to, whether it was only your own family, or your fellow countrymen, or everyone. But they have always agreed that you ought not to put yourself first. Selfishness has never been admired. Men have differed as to whether you should have 1 wife or 4, but they have always agreed that you must not simply have any woman you like. But the most remarkable thing is this: whenever you find a man who says he does not believe in real right and wrong, you will find the same man going back on this a moment later. He will break his promise to you, but if you try breaking one to him, he will be complaining, "It's not fair," before you can say Jack Robinson. A nation may say treaties do not matter, but then the next minute they will spoil their case by saying that the particular treaty they want to break was an unfair one. But if treaties do not matter, and if there is no such thing as right and wrong, in other words, if there is no law of nature, what is the difference between a fair treaty and an unfair one? Have they not let the cat out of the bag and shown that, whatever they say, they really know the law of nature, just like anyone else? It seems then we are forced to believe in a real right and wrong. People may be sometimes mistaken about them, just as people sometimes get their sums wrong, but they are not a matter of mere taste and opinion any more than the multiplication table. Now, if we are agreed about that, I go on to my next point, which is this. None of us are really keeping the law of nature. If there are any exceptions among you, I apologize to them. They had much better read some other work, for nothing I'm going to say concerns them. And now turning to the ordinary human beings who are left. I hope you will not misunderstand what I'm going to say. I'm not preaching, and heaven knows I do not pretend to be any better than anyone else. I'm only trying to call attention to a fact. The fact that this year, or this month, or more likely this very day, we have failed to practice ourselves the kind of behavior we expect from other people. There may be all sorts of excuses for us. That time you were so unfair to the children was when you were very tired. That slightly shady business about the money, the one you've almost forgotten, came when you were very hard up. And what you promised to do for old so-and-so and have never done, well, you never would have promised if you had known how frightfully busy you were going to be. And as for your behavior to your wife or husband or sister or brother, if I knew how irritating they could be, I would not wonder at it. And who the dickens am I anyway? I'm just the same. That is to say, I do not succeed in keeping the law of nature very well. And the moment anyone tells me I'm not keeping it, there starts up in my mind a string of excuses as long as your arm. The question at the moment is not whether they are good excuses. The point is that they are one more proof of how deeply, whether we like it or not, we believe in the law of nature. If we do not believe in decent behavior, why should we be so anxious to make excuses for not having behaved decently? The truth is, we really believe in decency so much, we feel the rule of law pressing on us, that we cannot bear to face the fact that we are breaking it, and consequently, we try to shift the responsibility. For you notice that it is only for our bad behavior that we find all these explanations. It is only our bad temper that we put down to being tired or worried or hungry. We put our good temper down to ourselves. These then are the 2 points I want to make. First, that human beings all over the earth have this curious idea that they ought to behave in a certain way and cannot really get rid of it. Secondly, that they do not in fact behave in that way. They know the law of nature, they break it. These two facts are the foundation of all clear thinking about ourselves and the universe we live in. We'll pause here and go on with the next chapter in the next video. Hope you liked the story. I love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.
All right, that was chapter 1 of Mere Christianity. In the next video, we will go over chapter 2. This next one, I don't think I'm going to do an audio, but I will read it. Better Nate than ever. So this one, hold on a second. I'm just trying to figure out why it's so dark in here. Alright, so this one is Better Nate than ever. Some backstory. I'd rather not start with any backstory. I'm too busy for that right now. Planning the escape, stealing my older brother's fake ID. He's lying about his height, by the way. And strategizing high-protein snacks for an overnight voyage to the single most dangerous city on Earth. So, no backstory, not yet. Just fill in the pieces, for instance. If I neglect to tell you that I'm 4'8", feel free to picture me a few inches taller. If I also neglect to tell you that all the other boys in my grade are 5'4", and that James Madison, his actual name, is 5'9", and doesn't even have to mow the lawn for his allowance. You might as well just pretend I'm 5'9" too. 5'9" with broad slam-dunking hands, and a girlfriend in high school, and a clear, unblemished face. Pretend I look like that, like James Madison. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry, I just had to grab the mail. Okay, I do, except exactly opposite, plus a little worse. By the way, despite our tremendous height gap, he and I weigh the same. The school nurse told me that once James Madison was just in before you, she said, grinning like her news was a Christmas puppy, and you weigh the exact same. This is the one attribute at which I'm not below average body heft. Oh, and I already knew that James Madison was in the nurse's office before me that day because we just passed in the front door frame and he licked the Ritalin crumbs from his lips and lunged at me to make me scream a little. I screamed a little. Luckily, I picked a good key and turned the shriek into a melody, walking into the nurse's office humming a tune. Life hasn't always been easy. My first word was mama, and then the other babies are teasing me. But at least I'm singing my way through 8th grade, pretending my whole existence is underscored. There's your backstory. I was always singing. Not that there's any evidence. My parents weren't very good about documenting my childhood. My older brother got all the video footage, including his first 7 poops. By the time I was born, disturbing the tranquility of Anthony's remarkable career as a 3-year-old wonder jock. The video cameras were fully trained on his every sprint, gasp, dive, and volley. Those are sports terms, reportedly. So I always sang, not that there's any proof of it, no high-res shots of little Nate Foster scurrying around the Christmas tree, belting Santa Baby, and a clarion silver soprano. That's just my imagination of my voice. Again, nobody ever recorded it. But I'm getting off track. You're distracting me, and there's a lot to do. No pressure, but if you pull this off, you are going to be my hero forever. This is Libby, my best friend for as long as I can remember, 2 years and 3 months specifically, but I hate when stories are hampered by math. Libby's standing in my backyard tonight, lit only by the moon. Although it might actually be the neighbor's motion-activated floodlight. Bark, bark, that's their dog. Yes, she's definitely being lit by their floodlight. Libby, if I don't pull this off and make it back home by tomorrow night, I'm dead. Like, my parents will never let me leave Western Pennsylvania again. I'm hugging my book bag, which is stuffed with 3 pairs of underwear, 1 plastic water bottle. Singers have to stay hydrated. Deodorant, just in case I need it on the trip. So far, I'm good. But I saw on the internet that a teenager's body can begin stinking at any moment. And I have $50. $50 should be safe through at least Harrisburg, and once there, I'll take my mom's ATM card out and get some more cash. Oh yeah, I borrowed my mom's ATM card. I'm babysitting it, we'll say. The plan is this. If I get money in Harrisburg, it'll be less suspicious than visiting an ATM in our little town, unofficial motto, 48.5 miles from Pittsburgh and 1,000 miles from fun. When she gets her bank statement, Mom won't suspect it's me who stole from her. Harrisburg is the capital of Pennsylvania and thus must be crawling with big city criminals. I'm serious, Lib. If anything goes wrong, my parents will never let me leave home again, ever. Luckily, they've never let you leave home before either. So if you get permanently grounded for this, Nate, you won't really know what you're missing out on anyway. Unless I get trapped in New York without a hotel in a freak late October blizzard. Unless I finally make it back here after my trip and really do know what I'm missing out on. Because I actually eat one of the famous New York street pretzels. Imagine pretzels sold on the street, right? It's as if anything is possible. Do they also sell hopes on the street? Do they sell hugs and dreams and height-boosting vitamins or hot dogs? I bet you they do. Feather circles my feet in the grass, whining. I'm sure he has to pee. Feather is so well trained. My older brother did the dog rearing. He's not only the town sports star, but a freaking dog whisperer too. In addition to donating his old issues of Men's Health to the library and also volunteer lifeguarding, that the dog only goes when we instruct him to. For a moment, I want to believe Feather's just sensing that I'm leaving. That he is only whining because he's scared as I am. Go boy, but really, he just has to pee. Something stirs in the woods behind the house. Libby crouches down and her jeans strain at the knees. We have identical bodies, other than the obvious stuff. So we're good on the alibi, I say? Yes, we're good. I'll cover your dog sitting duties while Anthony goes off to win another track meet tomorrow. And if anyone calls your landline, I'll pick up the phone and disguise my voice as yours. Libby's being kind. We have the exact same voice already. When I order pizza, they always sign off by saying, "That'll be 30 minutes, ma'am." Let's go over what happens if somebody tries to kidnap you, Libby says. I make myself throw up. That's right, she has theories for everything, and one of them is that if you throw up on criminals, they'll run. She watches more TV than I do. What if I can't throw up? What if I haven't had anything to eat? Libby smirks, reaching into her own bag and handing me a 24-pack of N&M's chocolate donuts. Nobody knows me like Libby. You're so good to me, I say. Oh God, now I'm hoping. Maybe I should just... No, sorry, now I'm hopping. Maybe I should just stay home. This is crazy. Don't you think it would be crazier to stay here and sell flowers the rest of your life? The family legacy is a floral shop. Floras. Mom runs it now, though we're not making any real money. There's nothing like a business in which your main product wilts by sundown. And tell me one more time, I say, what my New York catchphrase is. It's, gosh, that A train subway sure is running local again, right? Libby groans and takes me by the shoulders. No, Nate. The key is to get it exactly right. The A train is running local today. What a hassle. That's the phrase. I googled things that annoy New Yorkers, and I need you to trust me. She twitches her nose, her habit when she's nervous or certain I'm about to screw something up. The A train is running local today. I say it like a studious robot. What a hassle. I can't handle this. The neighbor's floodlight clicks off, and for a moment it's just me, Libby, Feather, and a sky of rural darkness. The crisp autumn air that leads to adventure or trouble, a bonfire that burns too hot, or a Halloween prank goes horribly wrong, or a boy with a girl's figure getting murdered in New York City. Close your eyes, Libby says, and when I do, and she doesn't take my hand and put a treat into it, a lucky rabbit foot tickets to a tour of Les Miserables. Another time, I sense something new is about to happen. And just as I'm opening my eyes again and watching her coming at me like I'm a chocolate donut, her mouth opens and eyes closed and arms reaching out to me. My brother pulls his pickup truck into the side yard, high beams on full blast. 16-year-olds always drive with their high beams on to make up for their insecurity and lack of experience manning a 7-ton death toaster. For the first time ever, Anthony has saved me from something. What are you freaks doing out there? He says, slamming the truck door and turning his baseball hat around backward, rolling up a sleeve like he's about to get into some dirty work. Keep your voice down, Anthony, I say. The neighbors are probably sleeping. Oh, please, Nathan, he says, circling the entire length of his truck, inspecting it for the tiniest nick. This is ritual. Aren't you usually belting out the chorus to Gays and Dolls or something around now? Try lowering show tunes alongside an older brother who can bench press your weight. No, literally, before he became too embarrassed to be seen in public with me, right around when Libby dyed my hair blonde, Anthony would bench press me out back and we'd charge 70 cents to the neighborhood kids if they wanted to watch. It's Guys and Dolls, I'm about to say. But don't. Libby moves away and looks at the stars, probably horrified that she was about to kiss me and got interrupted. Probably horrified that she was about to kiss me at all. We're hanging out here because there's supposed to be a meteor shower tonight, she says, lying to Anthony. I'm the only person she doesn't lie to, and your little brother and I never miss a show. I'm sweating so bad that I think this might be the first time I actually need deodorant. Right here in the backyard, by the garden gnome and weird miniature Japanese bridge. Mom put in when Dad had the affair. Listen, Anthony says, walking over to us, but stopping a full 8 feet away, like we're going to infect him with terminal jazz hands or something. I've got a huge meet tomorrow in Aliquippa, and I have to be up at the crack of butt. So if you're planning on staying up all night, playing your theater games, howling in the moon like a couple of actresses, you might as well sleep at Libby's. I'm serious. I've got to get my rest. Perfect. He's playing right into the plan. Well, gee, Anthony, if this game is such a big deal, maybe that's a sensible idea. It's not a game, Homo. It's a meet. He makes for the broken sliding screen door years ago. Anthony wrestled me through the kitchen and out onto the back patio, smashing through the screen, ending up grounded for the last time in his whole flawless life, and disappears within, re-emerging a moment later. And don't do anything stupid tonight, guys. I'm serious. Mom and Dad will kill me if they have to ID your body at the morgue. Anthony is supposed to be watching me this weekend, though I don't know what parents in their right mind leave their gentle-souled 13-year-old in the charge of their girl-addicted 16-year-old. This is not to say my parents are in their right minds. Only that they're broke. Only that they can't afford a babysitter, let alone the special weekend Dad is treating Mom to, on account for their admittedly remarkable 17 years together. I think Dad was just too cheap to afford a divorce, so he splurged on a fancy hotel, someplace that probably has terry cloth robes and heart-shaped goodnight chocolates. Someplace parents like mine will renew their vows and think life can always feel this refreshed, from this anniversary night forward until they get home tomorrow and find that their younger son was sold into child slavery in New York City. Mood killer. And now with Anthony and Feather inside and Libby and me alone, there's nothing left to do but leave. I'm scared, Libby, I say, choosing to pretend the almost kiss never happened. Why, Libby says. But I can see she's scared for me too, or wishing she could come, wishing she could be the co-adventurer in the fantasy she lit in the first place, introducing me to the magical escape of musical comedy. There's nothing to be scared of, Nate. You're small and scrappy, and you can get out of any situation the world throws at you. Just this past week, I'd been stuffed into a locker by a 7th grade nose picker who is shorter than I am. Okay, your cab to the bus station is supposed to get here in like 10 minutes, Libby says, walking me to my own fence. I told him to come to this bottom of the hill so Anthony wouldn't see you bailing. What would I do without Libby? What will I do? What if I make a schmuck out of myself? What if I forget the words to my song? You've been making a schmuck out of yourself for years, Nate, Libby says. At least this time you've got the possibility of being paid for it. What if I stutter my name? I always stutter my name. Like I'm confessing to the crime of being alive. Let's go and let go and let God, Libby says, or whatever. What if I lose my voice? What if... Nate, just stop. She snaps her fingers in my face. You're going to sleep on the bus and arrive at 9 in the morning. You're going to ask any adult who doesn't look like a murderer which way it is to the Ripley Greer Studios, and you're going to find a bathroom and splash down your face and try to run the hot water long enough that it steams any wrinkles out from your shirt, and you're going to be fine. She looks me up and down. Do you have cough drops? Yes. Do you have your water bottle? Definitely. Duh. Do you have your headshot and resume? Holy Dance of the Vampires. No, Dance of the Vampires. Instead of cursing, we shout out the titles. Of legendary Broadway flops. Dance of the Vampires was an infamous musical from the early 2000s, starring the original Phantom of the Opera actor, this time as a blood drinker. Evidently, it featured an entire song called Garlic, not even kidding. Okay, let's not panic, Libby says. I must have left my headshot and resume at her place last night when this entire adventure scheme was hatched. It could potentially be very charming to Broadway, she reasons, discovering a boy from off the street who doesn't even have a photo of himself. Besides, let's be honest about your resume. You've only played a mushroom in a junior high pageant about the merits of eating vegetables. She has a point, although I played the broccoli. Also, I don't really even have a headshot. So Libby and I just took my 8th grade picture and blew it up, revealing my horrible skin and overuse of hair product. And that blasted underbite that I always forget I have. I wonder if that's what it's like for people born with 8 toes or a weird birthmark, if you always forget you're different until you see a photo of yourself. This is one of the reasons I'm actually not so sad my parents didn't document my life. This is one of the reasons I'm glad I left that picture at Libby's last night. The cab pulls up and she hands me a $50 bill. Libby. Just take it. Your dad might be a doctor, but it's not like he shares the wealth. My dad is not, in fact, a doctor. He is a maintenance engineer at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. He cleans toilets, but whenever classmates hear my dad work at the medical center, they just assume he's a doctor. And who am I to ruin another kid's dream? I'll pay you back, I say, with interest. I'll make this up to you. She looks around, checking for raccoons or stray mental patients on the frighteningly dark back road to my house, and sticks out her index finger at me. I do the same, and we touch them and smile. And she says, don't forget to phone home. Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to be gone for a day. I'll be back by this time tomorrow night. You better be. Your brother and parents will be pulling in at the same time, and you know he's going to have a pickup truck full of trophies, and they're going to be ready to kill each other. And there's something very, specific about arriving home and realizing your 13-year-old is missing, even if they never notice you when you're, here. You're getting in, or what? The cab driver calls out from an open window. I look at my outfit, maybe I'm actually dressed as Superboy and just can avoid this cab ride altogether. All right, we've got 1.5 pages to go of this chapter. Maybe I could just fly to New York and avoid getting mugged in the Greyhound bathroom before I even make it out of Pittsburgh. Break a leg, Libby says, hugging me and giving me a quick kiss on my cheek. and text constantly. And here, she thrust a mysterious manila envelope out at me, pulled from her bag. Take this, and don't open it till after your audition. After they fall completely in love with you. Thank you, Libby, I will. And they won't. And from just above, a star blasts a trail across the night sky, like a visor of fire on Libby's head, leaving it glowing a finger-painted smear, something human, untouchable, and reachable. Like maybe I could make the same kind of mark in New York, somewhere that might actually understand me. Maybe Libby wasn't lying about the meteor shower after all, or can sense things about the future that even I can't. Get right back on the bus after the audition, she says. Don't go to the Wax Museum in Times Square or anything, but me an I Heart New York t-shirt, and then just get here. Just get back here. I shut the door and roll down the window. The cab smells like a dead person. What a dead person might smell like if I've ever smelled one. I'm sure I will on this trip, if I don't end up one myself. Libby? Yes, Nate. If anything happens, you were always my favorite Elphaba. The cab skids away, and I hold my bag close and shut my eyes and say a frantic prayer that it all goes off okay. And when I turn around to wave to Libby, she isn't there. Just that streak across the sky, still glowing, burnt into the Big Dipper like a dare. Okay. That is it out of that book that I just did the chapter for. I am going to find an audio version of this. I'm sure I can find one on YouTube. I have the Mere Christianity audio version. And then this one is God is My Anger Management. Except this one I'm going to do in a different part. So this will be part 3. This is what we're going to read. God is My Anger Management. And then we're going to, part 4, screen record a couple videos about anger management in kids and adults. So stay tuned.